Hello Internet, it's Tech Guy here with another video. This video is quite different from anything else I've done in regards to, if you've watched my channel ever since the start, you know that I'm all for Apple videos and all this stuff, but I'm being more flexible now and covering Android videos and stuff like that as well. So in this video, I will be talking about my top 5 predictions for the Samsung Galaxy S6, which should hopefully be coming out in, or at least announced in a bit over a month from now. So let's get into it. Before I go into the video, I just want to go over a quick disclaimer. I've never personally owned a Samsung smartphone to use on a daily basis, and I've never owned one to use even for a short time. I've played with my mum's Samsung Galaxy S3 and my sister's S4 enough to see what it's like and all of that. This is a phone I may possibly consider signing up for when my iPhone 5S contract expires if Virgin Mobile in Australia sells the S6, because they currently sell Samsung phones and that, and Virgin doesn't sell HTC phones at the moment, so that's another whole kerfuffle as to what phone I may eventually go with in the future and costs and all this stuff, but it will sort itself out, obviously. Project Zero is meant to be Samsung's reboot for the Samsung Galaxy S lineup, and it is related to this model in the sense of their sales were 40% less for the Samsung Galaxy S5, so they're really having to start from scratch when it comes to making the S6. So what the heck are they going to possibly do? Time will tell. And this video is based on what to expect and what I personally want to see from the phone. So let's start off with number 5, which is the minor stuff. So battery life. With my iPhone 5S, I get around 5 to 6 hours of screen on time every day, but I hope it can have even better. Obviously, the S5 and all that is getting better battery life than the iPhone 5S, I guess you could say, but I want even better than that. I'm hoping that they can at least put in a 3000 mAh battery, especially if they decide to not incorporate a removable battery, depending on the design of the phone and that. There's rumours that they could go down the glass design route and all that, but I guess time will tell. So take everything with a grain of salt in this video, obviously. Nano SIM, to be compatible with my iPhone 5S, that is going down from micro to nano, so I can plug and play my SIM card between both handsets in terms of flexibility, because for developing mobile applications, if I need to develop an app on the go, or if I just personally want to switch between phones every now and then and test them out in the wild and all of that, I won't need any little adapters or anything to convert a nano SIM up to a micro SIM to put it in a phone and all that. The chances of them not fitting in properly and being stuck in the phone and all that kerfuffle, I just hope that they could go down to the standard of nano SIM and to increase more space inside the phone to put, dare I say, a bigger battery. Fingerprint scanner, improved possibly like Touch ID in the sense of you place your finger on it instead of swiping it. That was one of the biggest drawbacks that I've seen from Samsung's fingerprint reader that they've put in their phones, is the fact that you've got to swipe, especially for such a large device being plus 5 inches, and even with the Note 4 and that. So I guess that's where Apple's got one up on Samsung in terms of fingerprint readers on equivalent sized phones. Storage, so they could put the internal storage up to start at 32GB instead of 16 to try and get ahead of Apple in that game. 3GB of RAM, because why not? And Bluetooth 4.1, because the Note 4's already got it, so why not bring it over to the S6 as well when that's released. So that's number 5. At number 4, we've got Android 5.0 Lollipop. So I'm hoping that Samsung tones down on TouchWiz because of just how good Lollipop looks. I do hope that they include some of the Note 4 features though, so when I'm talking about this, I'm specifically referring to the way that things look in terms of the user interface and all that. I hope they don't really touch it too much, but I do hope that they touch it enough in order to add extra features to it on top of stock Android, because if you sell a stock Android smartphone from Samsung, it's not going to sell. The reason they sell is because of all these extra features they have over the other Android phones. So I hope that they include some of the Note 4 features like single-handed mode and pop-up window, As far as I know, for pop-up window, you need the S Pen to do that, or you have to swipe in from the corner of the screen, but it's easier with the S Pen or something like that. I hope that they can bring it across as well, but from the perspective of you don't need the S Pen in order to do it, hopefully. And the same with single-handed mode, in the sense of if they can make a smaller screen overall to like 4.5 inches or 4 inches in the bottom left or bottom right corner, so you can touch every element on the screen, and yes, there'd be black bars on the left or right, and the top. It would just be a lot easier to handle on the go and all that if you are a dedicated, heavy, single-handed user. So that's what I'm hoping to see in terms of software on the Samsung Galaxy S6. At number 3, we have the camera. So the camera is rumoured to get an upgrade from the existing 16 megapixel camera to an updated sensor with the same 16 megapixel count, or upgraded entirely all the way up to 20 megapixels. OIS, or optical image stabilization, is also a missing feature that should be expected to carry across from the Note 4 over to the Samsung Galaxy S6. But another thing that they haven't put in the S5 that they've started to put in the Note 4 is the ability to record 4K, Ultra HD, 2160p, whatever you want to call it. There's no universal standard. I generally call it Ultra HD because that's what a lot of manufacturers are calling it. In terms of recording video with the camera, the Note 4 has Ultra HD video at 30 frames per second, especially if they're going to put a more powerful processor in it, because the Note 4 generally gets a more powerful processor than the Samsung Galaxy S phone from that year, and then the Samsung Galaxy S phone gets a more powerful processor than Note from the year before. Presumably they could bump it up to 60 frames per second, which is 60 individual photos. More frames means a smoother image overall, which is a lot better for users, and dare one say this is how they've had to do it on all these smartphones in order to do slow motion video and all that. So like the iPhone, they had to do it to 120 frames per second, and then in the 6 and 6 Plus they had to upgrade it to 240 because they could physically do that. And obviously it supports 60 frames per second if it's possible with the processing power and all that, and a possible 5 megapixel selfie camera. Yes, I went there, and I can't believe that all these smartphone manufacturers are going down the route of saying that they're a selfie camera, not a front-facing camera. It's a disturbing trend, but I guess they can't really turn back now. It's obviously going to be called selfie for as long as the selfie trend is still popular, I guess. So that's what I'm expecting from the camera. At number 2, we have the processor. So if I'm going to be quite honest, based on the rumours that are going around and all of that, this is probably the one thing that I'm most nervous about in regards of the next Samsung flagship, that is the Galaxy S lineup. I say that because I want it to have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 octa-core 64-bit processor, but that may not happen due to overheating issues. Then again, the LG G Flex 2 has the Snapdragon 810 inside of it. Why can't the Galaxy S6 have it? Maybe it's because of some other internal components or something like that, or the phone's even thinner. Maybe it's because they're going to do an all-glass design. The fact it might have overheating issues is causing all this other stuff. Nobody knows the exact issue behind it, at least the vast majority of users like myself and everyone else on the internet. But I really do hope that they include the Snapdragon 810 in it, because as far as I'm aware, based off what I'm reading on the internet and all that, a lot of smartphone application developers and software in relation to the Android operating system and all that is better optimized to run with the Snapdragon 810 processor and all that, not so much with Samsung's own processors, which is what may potentially happen, because Samsung has their own Exynos 420 chip, which I guess you could say is like Apple having the A4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chips. They just call it Exynos and then they give it a random number that isn't very simple to follow. But from what I know, a lot of mobile application and software is better optimized for the Qualcomm processors, And obviously they've got more stuff inside of it to obviously power it, and the fact that they also include Quick Charge 2.0 features and stuff like that. If features like that are carried over to the Exynos 7420 chip when Samsung creates that, there's not going to be so much of an issue. But in terms of processing power, optimization of software for processors, and all these extra features that the Snapdragon 810 provides, I really hope that it doesn't lack that when it comes to putting a processor into the Samsung Galaxy S6. So that's all that I really have to say in terms of processor. So take everything with a massive grain of salt, and best of luck in terms of getting the Snapdragon 810 in it. And finally, for number 1 on this list, I have the display and the build in relation to the design and the look of the phone. Because the design of the Samsung Galaxy S6 may be the most radical change ever because of the disappointing sales and all that. Then again, they said that the S5 was going to have a radical change and all of that, but to be honest, it just looks like a golf ball on the back of it. It doesn't really look that different. So some say it may not even have a removable cover, meaning you could possibly get a larger battery inside of it, because if you're going to have a removable back and the ability to have a removable battery, you've got to work your components around that in order to make the battery flexible to remove it and all of that. But if they're going to possibly make it all built in like an iPhone in terms of having the glass on the front and the back, then it could possibly mean they could fit an even larger battery inside of it. I do hope the bezels become less on the front in terms of around the screen and all of that, make them all narrower. And I personally hate, and this isn't just because I use iPhones and all that, I'm used to it, I personally don't like logos on the device. So on the top of your Samsung phone it says Samsung. I personally don't like that, because if a device is so recognizable, it shouldn't need a company's logo on the front of the device. On the back, it's not so much of an issue, because you don't look at the back 90% of the time, because what are you doing? You're consuming content on the display on the front of the phone, but not on the back of the phone, and you don't look at the back of your phone 99% of the time. You might just look at it in the case of, do you have any dust over your camera or anything like that? Or look at the case that you put on the back. So if you got like a Despicable Me minion or something, yes, you could be looking at that on the back of your phone. But apart from that, nobody really looks at the back of their phone 90% of the time, to be honest. So if the design is so radically different and it's going to be so recognizable, I hope they could get rid of the logo, and quite frankly it frees up more space on the front of the phone, so they could either move the display up to give you more area down the bottom, or they could just make the phone less tall altogether. And also the screen is also rumoured to be anywhere from 5.1 inches all the way up to 5.5 inches, which yes, technically mean it's a phablet, and have a Quad HD screen of 2560 by 1440 resolution. I personally want to see a bigger screen and all that, because I'm more the type of person that's saying, well, what's the point having somewhere between a 4.0 inch screen and a phablet? You might as well go for a phablet if you're going to have a bigger screen than 4.0 inches. Or at least that's the thought process that's going through my head, especially around the times of me making this video and the months before it and all that. And all I really have to say is, if they go 5.5 inches, I do hope that they add the single-handed mode features, just like I said in point 4 of this video, and have less bezel on the screen so it's less bulky in the hand and all of that. I don't mind if they make it thinner, as long as they have a good enough battery in it. And in terms of build quality and all that, yes, I really like the aluminium, or as people say in America, aluminum, feel and design of the iPhone and all that, but to be honest, you put a case on it and it's plastic. I do it because I get better grip on it and to protect the back of it and all that, but having a really good design for a phone and ditching the plastic can really go a long way, and I really do mean that. They should be paying particular attention to the actual design of the phone, so really they've just got to focus on the design, the display, the camera, the processor, and the software. And if they nail every single one of these, it could be a massive hit. I'm not kidding. It could really be a change for the smartphone industry and be as significant in my eyes as the Samsung Galaxy S3 was all the way back in 2012. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. The question for you, the audience, is what do you want to see most in the Samsung Galaxy S6? Pretty straightforward. So you can let me know by leaving a comment below or send me a message at techguy1212. And if you enjoy this, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this in the future. And until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you later.